Hi Math 10s. This video is going to be on Lesson 4 in your student workbook, and Lesson 4 is on page 579. What we're going to be dealing with in this lesson is the last equation of a line. So we dealt with the first two equations of a line, and the first two equations of a line that we had were the general form of the equation, which is ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. And then the second form that we dealt with was the slope y-intercept, which is equal to y is equal to mx plus b. And the last equation of a line that we're going to be dealing with, it is called the slope point form. And how this equation looks is as follows. It's y minus y1 is equal to m, open bracket, x minus x1. So what we're given is a few things. We are given the slope, which is our m value, so it will always be in front of our brackets. And we're also given a point on our line, and the point on our line is going to be x1, y1. Okay, so if I give you any slope and any point on a line, you could put it into slope point form. And then what we're going to see in the class examples is we could manipulate from this equation to either get into general or slope y-intercept. So let's look at a couple of things. In this investigation, they gave me an equation in slope point form. So the equation is y plus 3 is equal to 2x minus 1. So I often tell students, I say, okay, identify the slope first. What is the slope of this line? And students are really good at picking out that the slope is always going to be the number in front of your bracket. So the slope of this line is going to be 2, or a rise of 2 and a run of 1. Then I say identify the point. So this would be your x point and this would be your y point. Now here's the thing. The point is not -1, 3. When we're dealing with the points and we're in the equation, to get the point, you have to actually do the opposite. So say to yourself, okay, what's the opposite of -1? And the opposite of -1 is +1. And then what's the opposite of 3? And the opposite of 3 is -3. So the point on our line is actually going to be at 1, -3. So if you find that point, 1, -3, there's the point of our line. And then once we have that point, which they've called A, we simply follow the slope. And the slope was rise 2 and run 1. So rise 2, run 1, we get back on our line. Rise 2, run 1, we get back on our line. Okay, so going to this equation here, if I said what's the slope and what's the point, always start with your slope because that's nice and easy. -2/3 means that the slope is going to go down 2 and to the right 3. The point, remember, it's always x comma y. So that's going to be my x coordinate, but it's not going to be 4. The point is going to be at -4, and my y coordinate is going to be at 1. So then again, let's find that point on our grid, and they're going to call this point B. So if x is -4 and y is 1, -1, -2, -3, -4, y is 1. There's the point there. From that point, we always follow the slope. So I'm going to go down 2 to the right 3, down 2 to the right 3. And I get back on my line. Follow the slope, down 2 and to the right 3, back on my line. We are going to skip this next page, so 580 will skip, and I want you to go to class example 1 and we will start doing some questions. Okay, so for class example 1, state the equation in slope point form. So write down y minus y1 is equal to the slope x minus x1. So they give us the slope here, and they give us a point x1, y1. Now what you simply need to do is you need to plug that point into the equation. So y minus y1 would be y minus 5. we don't switch it here, and I'll show you why. You just plug it in exactly as you see it. Y minus 5 is equal to the slope, which is 3, and then x minus, here's my x1, which is 6. This would be your final answer, and that's the equation of your line. And let's double check some things. So what is the slope? The slope is in front of your bracket, which is 3. What is your point? Point, instead of -6, my point is at 6, and my y-coordinate is at 5, and that matches this. All right, let's put this slope and point in. So x1, y1. So say to yourself, y minus y1 is -1 is equal to the slope, which is -4, open bracket, x minus x1 is just 1. From here, if ever you could clean something up like 2 negatives to make a positive, you always do that. So y plus 1 is equal to -4, open bracket, x minus 1, close your bracket, and you are done. Again, I always like to double check. So let's double check a few things. My slope is -4, and my point, the opposite of -1 is 1. The opposite of 1 is -1. Okay, number C, y minus y1 is equal to your slope, open bracket, x minus x1. Clean up what you can. 2 negatives always make a positive. So this would be y plus 8 is equal to 1/2, open bracket, x plus 9. And that is the equation of your line in slope point form. I could easily look at this and I could say my slope is 1/2, my point exists at -9, -8, which matches up here. Okay, in each case, the slope of the line and the point are given. Determine the equation of the line in slope y-intercept form. So they want us to now do this in slope y-intercept form. But here's the thing. If you're given a slope and a point, put it into slope point form first, and then we will convert it. So this is my point, x1, y1, and I'm going to put it into slope point form first. Y minus y1 is equal to the slope, open bracket, x minus x1. So let's put in our m value, our x1, and our y1. So y minus 2 is equal to the slope. Slope is 5, open bracket, x minus -5. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this x minus -5 right here, and I'm just going to change that to x plus 5, because 2 negatives make a positive. Okay, from here, they want this equation in y is equal to mx plus b. So we just need to manipulate this to get it into that equation. So the first thing I always like to do is I like to get rid of my brackets, right? Y is equal to mx plus b has no brackets. So let's distribute that 5 in. Y minus 2 is equal to 5x plus 25. We need to isolate this y, so get rid of that -2. How you get rid of the -2 is you add 2 to both sides, and the 25 and the 2 are like terms, so I'd add them together, and the slope of my equation is now 5x plus 27. So a couple of things that are important to note. We were told that the slope of my equation is 5, and now that I'm in y is equal to mx plus b, look at this. There's my slope, 5. Now that I'm in y is equal to mx plus b, the other piece of information I have is the y-intercept. So the y-intercept of this graph is at 27. And then the third thing I know now is I know what the slope is. I know what the y-intercept is. This is going to be a point on the graph. Okay? Let's do the exact same for B. So what I would recommend if you're doing this at home is I would pause the video. I'll write the equation for you. So slope, open bracket, x minus x1. I want you to put in your slope, put in your x1, y1. This is your x1, y1. And then see if you could manipulate your equation, get rid of your brackets, and solve for y. See if you're able to do that, and then you could unpause the video and I'll have the answer there. Okay, so y minus 4 is equal to the slope. X, instead of writing x minus negative 3, I'm going to put x plus 3 to speed this up. I'm going to distribute that negative 7 in to get rid of that bracket, and I get y minus 4 is equal to negative 7x minus 21. From here, the last thing I need to do to isolate my y value is I need to get rid of that 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And then from there, I've just isolated my y value, and I am now into slope y-intercept form, and my answer would be y is equal to negative 7x minus 17. Again, check that our slopes match. They told me that the slope was negative 7. This slope is negative 7. I now know what my y-intercept is, right? My y-intercept is negative 17. This is going to be a point on this graph here. Okay, class example number 3. I really like this class example because there's going to be different ways that you could get to the same answer. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways that students could get to the same answer. So John and Nikki were solving the following quiz question. Determine the equation in general form of a line with a slope of negative 2 passing through this point. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with Nikki's work, and she wants to do slope point. So based on getting the slope and a point, let's figure out what the slope point form would be, and then let's convert to general. So y minus y1 is equal to the slope x minus x1. Okay, fill that in. You should be able to do this. So I'm going to actually move down here a bit, and let's fill this in. This is my x1, y1, and we've got our slope. So y minus negative 5. So instead of writing y minus negative 5, I'm going to write y plus 5 is equal to the slope, open bracket, x minus x1, and x1 is 3. Okay, so again, remember this was y minus negative 5, which gives you y plus 5. Okay, we are in slope point form. They want us to go to general, but before we can go to general, we got to get rid of this bracket. So y plus 5 is equal to negative 2x plus 6. What I would do from this point is before going into general, I would, let's get rid of this 5 and go into slope y-intercept, right? So let's subtract 5, and we would get y is equal to negative 2x plus 1. So from here, I'm going to look and I'm going to say, okay, my slope is negative 2. My point, this was my point, right? And I've distributed it and simplified. Here's my y-intercept. My y-intercept is 1. Now we've got to go to general. So general is ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So you need to bring everything to one side of your equation, and you always want to go to the side that makes your x value or your a value positive. So right now, I look at this and I say, that is negative, it has to go. So I'm going to add 2x's to both sides. Everything's basically going to the left. And I'm going to get rid of that 1 by subtracting 1. Right now what I have is I've got 0 on the right-hand side, and I want to rewrite this, my x first, my y second, and my constant last. So in general form, it would be 2x plus 1y minus 1. This would be the answer in general form. That's one way to get to general form. So one way to get there is by doing slope point form. There is another way that we will get this exact same answer. So here's the second way. We were told that the slope is negative 2. We were also told that our point is 3, negative 5. What you could have done is you could have said, I'm going to figure it out from here. y is equal to mx plus b, because I know what m is. M is negative 2. So y is equal to negative 2x plus b. The only thing we're missing is that y-intercept, right? How would I get that? You can get this unknown variable if you're given a point, because you guys, on this point, I know what my x coordinate is. That's my x, and this is my y. I'm going to, in this equation, take out x and put in 3. I'm going to take out the y, and I'm going to put in negative 5. Then I could manipulate and get b. So negative 5 is equal to negative 2, x is 3, plus b. Negative 5 is equal to negative 6 plus b. To isolate the b, we got to get rid of that negative 6. So you have to add you have to add 6 to both sides. And then I've got b is equal to negative 5 plus 6, which is 1. Now I know what my y-intercept is. Put it back in this equation. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 1. If you look, that's exactly what we had over here, right? And we started in slope point form over there. So negative 2x plus 1, from here we got to go to general. So everything has to go to the left because I need that negative 2x positive. So bring that to the left and you'd get 2x. My y is already there. Bring that over and you get negative 1 is equal to 0. What I would do is I would pause this video at this point and I would do these 5 questions to see if you understand this. And then I'm going to keep going though. So when you're done those questions, you could unpause and I will solve the remaining 2 class examples, which you need to know. Okay, so the line on the grid passes through at least 2 points with integer coordinates. That means it has points on the crosshairs that we could easily find. So if I look, what are some good points? That's a good point. No, that one is not. We got to find good points. So that's a point, and that's a point. Okay, so there's at least 2. There's going to be more than 2 on here. So find 2 good points. Determine the equation of the line in general form. Okay, how would we start this? If you have 2 points, you could find the slope. You could either do y1 minus y2, sorry, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or I could just do the rise and the run. So I'm going to go down -1, minus down, fall 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, I guess that would, sorry, I'm going to start that again. This would be 1, 2, 3. It would be a fall of 3 and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I just calculated my slope. So my slope is negative 3 over 4. And that should make sense, right? 2 points on your line, you need your slope. From here, students always say, I really want to go into this form, mx plus b. But here's what the issue is. If you look, what is your b value? You can't just guess that that's negative 4.5. So because I don't have a nice integer coordinate for my b value, like it's not cutting nicely at a crosshairs, I cannot go directly into this form. So what you could do is if you're given the slope, you could go into the slope point form. You might say to me, well, Mrs. King, which point would I use? You could use any point on your line. And once we manipulate it back into y is equal to mx plus b or general, we will all get to the same answer. So it doesn't matter if I use this point. It doesn't matter if I use this point. It doesn't matter if I use this point. We're going to get to the same answer. So you need to pick a point. So I'm going to pick this point here. That x value is 2 and the y value is negative 6. So the point that I'm going to pick is my x value is 2, my y value is negative 6. So again, it doesn't matter which point you use. At the end of the answer, we're all going to have the same answer. So I'm going to use this point here. I know if I've got a slope and a point, I could go into this form. Y minus y1 is equal to the slope, open bracket, x minus x1. Okay, that's what I know I could do. Let's fill this in. Y minus negative 6 is equal to the slope, open bracket, x minus 2. I'm going to go through though, and I want to clean this up. Y minus negative 6 is y plus 6. Okay, from here, what do we do? We always get rid of our brackets. So to get rid of the brackets, we got to distribute in that negative 3 over 4. So we would have y plus 6 is equal to negative 3 over 4x. Two negatives are going to make a positive. And what this is, it's negative 3 over 4 times negative 2. So if you need to, you do this on your calculator. Negative 3 over 4 times negative 2. This gives us 3 over 2. Okay, always isolate your y next, right? So after we have gotten rid of our brackets, we always want to get y next, and then we're going to be into y, slope y intercept. So in order to isolate your y, you got to get rid of that 6. So we would have y is equal to negative 3 over 4x, and then it was 3 over 2 minus 6. These are like terms, so they would go together. So there's my 3 over 2. It's already stored on my calculator. I'm going to subtract 6, and I'm going to get negative 9 over 2. From here, ask yourself, are you able to go into general? Because that's what they wanted. General is this, ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. So everything needs to be on one side of the equal sign, and we always have to go to the side that makes our x positive. Right now my x is negative. You got to get rid of this. You got to bring that over to the left. So how you get rid of a negative 3 over 4x is you add 3 over 4x, and you add 3 over 4x to both sides. This is gone. Get rid of that negative 9 over 2 by adding 9 over 2 to both sides. This is gone. What you have on the right-hand side, there's your equals. What you have on the right-hand side of your equals is a 0. You now need to write this, your a value first, or sorry, your x value, then your y value, then your constant. So what this would be 3 over 4x plus, that's a 1y, plus 9 over 2. Okay, we got to get rid of the denominators. So ask yourself, I need to get rid of this 4 and this 2. What's the lowest common multiple between 2 and 4? And the multiples of 2 are 2, 4, 6. The multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12. The lowest common multiple is 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by 4. From here, you're going to say 4 times 3/4. So 4 times 3/4 is 12 over 4, which is 3x, plus 4 times 1y is 4y, plus 4 times 9 over 2 is 18, and that is equal to anything times 0 is 0. So this is your equation in general form. So again, what we did, so look at everything we did. Just given a line, we found the slope. Then I said take any point on your line. If you have a slope and a point, you can go into slope point form. From there, get rid of your brackets and solve for y. Then you're in slope y intercept form. From there, you could go to general. So a lot of work to get to your final answer. And this would be like a 4 or a 5-point question if this was a test question. Okay, the last question that we have, and then you'll do some assignment questions, is class example number 5. It says, in each case, state the slope of the line and write the coordinates of a point on the line. Nice and easy. That's the slope of your line. The point on this line, the opposite of -4 is 4. The opposite of 11 is -11. And you would be done. Let's do B. What's the slope? That guy right there is the slope. What's the point on this line? The x value is not -7, it is 7. The y value is not -9, it is 9. I really like this question because students can easily see that this is the slope, and they'll say, okay, slope is equal to -3. Then they'll say, well, my point, I know that the x is 6, but what's the y? The y value, you guys, is actually 0. If there's nothing written, it would be y plus 0 is equal to, and then this side. But we don't need to write that plus 0, right? So you just have to know that it's there, and that would be your point, would be at 6, 0, and that would be an x-intercept. Okay, for this guy here, we are in slope y-intercept form. So if I said, what's the slope of this line? The slope would be -3. If I said, what's the point on this line? Well, this is your b value. What is your b value? Your b value is your y-intercept. So your y-intercept is equal to -6. What's the point or the coordinate at -6? -6 is down here, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that point, right, what's that point? X is 0, y is -6. So that would be your answer for D. If you understand that, you could now do 6, 7, and 9.